It's 6 o'clock here. I appreciate you guys being on it. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me just because I'm connected to my computer at work right now. So I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. So maybe just a thumbs up or some type of reaction. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Today, what we're going to be specifically going over is how to network for a career in consulting. What we're going to be talking about today is I'm going to give you guys a path in terms of firms that you could reach out to, more or less identifying what the landscape is in terms of consulting, so that you guys could really understand what firms you should be reaching out to. And then from there, maybe what positions or what types of consultings you might be interested in reaching out to. After that, I'm going to teach you guys how to find consultants, how to source their emails, how to find them on LinkedIn. And then from there, what you should actually send to them, and then uh, how you should actually go about emailing them. After that, we are hopping into the chat. So once you actually go into the coffee chat, what should you say? So I'm going to give you a little bit of a framework that you guys can use in terms of questions that you could ask. And then after, we're going to wrap up, and it's going to be basically how to follow up after the chat is over. So the main goal of today is to help you guys really get confident in terms of networking, reaching out to consultants, and basically just being comfortable reaching out is like the big goal out of this. So what I'm going to drop in the chat right now is three things. I'm going to drop a consulting networking template. So basically in here, we're going to have a bunch of emails and we're going to have a bunch of LinkedIn messages that you guys can send to consultants. And it's going to be a template on Word. So you guys could download that and utilize that. We're also going to be giving you a spreadsheet. So two spreadsheets so that you can keep track of the people that you're talking to. So let me send that in the chat right now. Give me 1 second. Just let me know if you guys get this. If somebody comes in late, I'll make sure to drop it in at the end. But I want to make sure that you guys have these resources, just so that you can utilize them. One of them is going to be like an empty template, suggesting you guys on what you guys should actually fill in. But just check it out. It's pretty cool. And I think it'll be a good resource for all of you guys. But I'm gonna get started with what you guys are mostly here for. Um, Let me just share this screen right here. Okay, perfect. And then let me move this over here. This is as big as possible. Okay, perfect. So now I should be able to see if you guys have any questions, which is going to be good. I just want to make sure that you guys can see my screen. So either a head nod or a thumbs up. Perfect. Awesome. Um, Actually, you guys might be seeing the wrong screen right here. Let me share this right one. I think it's going to be this one. Okay. Can you guys see the PowerPoint? Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Awesome. So this week, how to network for a career consulting. Well, let's get started here. So who am I? I'm actually the president of FCG. So if you guys weren't here last week, the start is going to look really similar as it did last week, but it's more or less just a review. I know that I put out the videos out there, but I think for me, it's helpful to, I think, clarify what consulting is when we first start off. So the start of our meetings will look pretty familiar in terms of what we're going to be going over. In terms of my professional experience, I've started off really early. So I started off at Grand Ridge National my freshman year. After that, I started off as an audit intern out at Baker Tilly. This summer, I worked in New York City out with EY, M&A Consulting, or Strategy and Transaction Launch Intern, whichever one you want to call it. Right now, I'm working as a tax intern at a company called Cliff Larson Allen. So if I'm a little bit tired today, just excuse me. But then this summer, I'm going to be working as a strategy summer analyst within Accenture, which I'm really looking forward to. And then this is the rest of my team here. So we have Hunter, who's our VP, Jacob, Director of External Relations, Purav, Membership Services. He takes care of our mentorship program too, if you're part of that. Damien is our treasurer. And then we have our marketing team, which is comprised of Eliza, Joanna, Yasmin, and Xavier. So if you guys see him around campus, make sure to ask any questions about FCG or about the program itself, just so that you guys can stay involved and I guess meet some more people within the FCG community. Okay, so very similar to what I said last week. We're going to start off with what is consulting, kind of explain what it is from there, and then we're going to go into the specific firms in consulting so that you guys can figure out when you're networking, who are the firms to reach out to, and then what are the positions or who are the people in consulting. So let's get started there. So what is consulting? So when I say consulting and when I talk about consulting, what I mean is consulting is the business of providing advice to other businesses, government entities, or basically any business, nonprofit, anything that you could really think of that might need some type of strategy or might need some extra type of help. The reason this is so hard to define, and you might be looking at me and being like, what the hell did you just say? Like providing advice to other businesses, that doesn't really make sense. Well, the reason consulting is so hard to define, which you'll learn about a little bit in a second, is that the scope of the work that you're doing, and when I say scope, I mean like what you're doing day to day, in terms of the project that you're put on, is super different. So what you might be doing in terms of daily tasks change day to day in comparison to a job like in investment banking or in commercial credit. I did commercial credit, so I could kind of relate to that, where the basis or the scope of what you'll be doing is pretty similar. Like right now, I'm doing tax returns, so I'm a tax intern. What I do every day is I come in and I file tax returns for either a business or for individuals. In consulting, it's completely different. When you come in, you might be working on a certain part of the project. You might be at a certain timeline in the project. So you might be in the beginning where you guys are strategizing. You might be in the middle where you guys are actually, coming up with the ideas and putting them onto PowerPoints. Or it might be at the end where you're actually pushing off the project or maybe even starting the implementation of this project. So I know I kind of explained a little bit of the cycle, but in consulting, there's two different main buckets of consulting. And within implementation, there's a bunch of types of consulting, but within strategy consulting, it's just strategy consulting. So whether you want to start your career as a strategy consultant or an implementation consultant is up to you. However, I'll go over what they are so that you guys have some type of baseline. When I talk about strategy consulting, this is the process of advising companies on important business decisions by providing any type of strategic advice. The one thing I would say about strategy consulting is it's usually done at the beginning of a project, or it's usually done at the beginning of any idea that a business might have. So if a business wants to, fire some people, or they're having a decrease in profitability, and they're trying to figure out why, right? They could try to do it internally and try to figure out why their profitability is decreasing or who they want to fire. But what they could also do is hire a consultant, and a strategy consultant, specifically in this engagement, would come in at the beginning and they would provide a basic strategy on what the company should be doing in comparison to implementation consulting. So, implementation consulting, once you get the strategy and the strategy is ideated, from there, what you guys are doing is trying to implement that project and bring it to day or bring it to life. When I talk about implementation consulting, you might have an idea where, okay, profitability might be decreasing because our revenues are not increasing. And the reason that our revenues might not be increasing is because we had a drop in the products that we sold. Okay, so what are ways that we could actually combat that, right? So now that the strategy consultants have figured out a way to actually combat that decrease in profitability, they give that idea to the management team, and the management team tries to find an implementation consulting firm to actually use all the strategy that the strategy consulting firm uh, ideated about and actually bring it to day with implementation consulting. So with strategy consulting, more or less the question that you're asking is what should this organization be doing? It's a lot more conceptual in nature, the work, analytical also too. And a lot of the work is decision oriented. And like I said at the beginning, it's usually done at the start of strategic planning or any type of project that you might see in consulting. Another word that I might use for project is engagement. That's another thing that consultants use. So if you ever hear the word engagement or project, it's basically the same idea. It's basically one company hiring you on for a specific reason, whether that's profitability, whether that's you're trying to enter a new market, or whether you're trying to implement a new technology or project itself. Um, uh, Consultants overall, they could come in at any type of any time in this life cycle. But I just wanted to differentiate these 2 points. Strategy consulting is a lot different than implementation consulting. The exit opportunities from strategy consulting are a lot different than the exit opportunities in implementation consulting. Um, and also, if you want to think about it, the pay and the types of firms that offer strategy consulting are usually a little bit higher than the firms that do implementation consulting. But I'll talk a little bit more. Also, one thing I would want to say about implementation consulting is it's not just implementation within itself. Within implementation, there's different types of consulting. So you could think management, tech consulting, risk advisory or risk consulting is another one. Operations is another big one. But let me let me kind of introduce you to some of these. So these are the different types of consulting. Out of UIC, there's some that are a lot more traditional or a lot easier to break into. UIC for consulting is not considered a target school, meaning companies are not coming to our campus as much as they should be to try to recruit or actively recruit UIC talent. So with us, what we have to do a lot of times is utilize our network and really know what the hell we want out of any type of consulting firm and what specific consulting we want to go into. So out of UIC, a lot of the things that you'll see or a lot of people, a lot of more common roles that you see people go into is into some type of management consulting or business advisory. Another big one, especially because we have a really strong engineering school, is tech advisory. Risk consulting is almost like a tech audit. So that's a little bit of a comparison. Operations consulting is more or less like there's a problem in the supply chain. How can we fix that? HR is more or less like, okay, there's a problem with our trainings. How could we revamp our trainings so that they fit or more or less align with our goals? So you could see that within consulting, there's different types of projects that you'd be put on, and different types of groups that you could potentially go into. So when you're networking with consultants at specific firms, keep in mind what type of consulting they do. If you're trying to go into business advisory or some type of management consulting, and you're reaching out to tech consultants, the scope of the work that they're doing day to day is a lot different than what a management consultant is doing. And that's why it's really hard to define what a consultant does day to day, because within all these groups and within all these different types of consulting, the work may vary completely different. For just one example, strategy consulting is usually the ideation of ideas or of business strategies. However, economic consulting is usually when your company is about to go bankrupt and you need to do some type of 13-week cash flow. 13-week cash flow is usually something that provides you some type of liquidity. And it's super important uh, in terms of being in a bankruptcy crisis. So a lot of firms, they hire economic consulting firms to model this stuff out. So wide scope. Another big thing that you could do is if you don't want to work at a consulting firm and you don't want to do professional services, go work at a Google. Go work at an Adobe. Go work at one of these big companies and go work inside their internal strategy arm. That is a great way to do the same things that you might be doing within a consulting firm, but instead of seeing, a wide variety of clients or different types of projects, most of the time what you'll be focusing on is whatever that specific company is trying to achieve or whatever goals they're trying to achieve. So Google, if you work for Google and within their internal strategy arm, what you're probably doing there is probably more focusing on the growth of Google. So you might be doing a lot of like mergers and acquisitions of smaller companies so that you can make Google a little bit bigger. You might be doing some more ideation about new projects or new initiatives that you guys could launch into the future. So that's kind of the scope of consulting. So there's professional services where you go work at like a EY or a McKinsey, and you start your career there, or you can use the same skill set that we are going to be learning within the consulting development program to go work within an internal strategy arm at one of these Fortune 500 companies or Fortune 1000 companies. So just be aware of that. That's another thing I want to say. And then within consulting, you go into a specific practice. So say I'm doing strategy consulting. Most of the time they put you into a specific type of industry. So whether that's consumers, energy and resources, financial services. I did financial services last summer. That was more or less insurance firms, asset managers, banks, credit unions. So that maybe give you a wide scope. Healthcare and life sciences. That's what I'm going to be doing at Accenture this summer. So I'll be in the healthcare practice most likely just because that's where a lot of the UIC alum end up. Um, but usually what you would do is you would start in a specific practice. So practice, I mean, management consulting, strategy consulting, tech consulting, risk advisory. And then from there, you would usually pick some type of industry to go into so that you could focus on that specific industry and almost become a master or a specialist within that industry. Some firms they offer a generalist model, which just basically means that you could come in and do all these different types of industries. So you might be put on a specific project, a tech consulting project, but you might be in the financial services organization industry, or you might be servicing a healthcare firm. So there's just a wide scope. A lot of times before you go into an interview or before you go network with someone, at least have some type of industry that you want in mind, just so that you can bring it up as a talking point and potentially meet people within that specific group at the end of the chat. So maybe you could be like, I know that you work in TMT, but I'm really interested in financial services. Are there any consultants I could reach out within the financial services group that you know of? If you don't mind, send me their emails or something like that. That's really baseline. You could use that at the end, just because you know what type of industry you want to go into. Awesome. So I'm just gonna take a second to see if there's any questions. Perfect. Looks like we're good. Feel free to just type anything in the chat too. Awesome. So one person asked, what if we don't know what industry we want to go into? If you really don't know, honestly, what I would do is I would try to focus on your background before. So like if you worked in the retail industry, right? So you worked at a Walmart, you worked at a Target, you worked at a Abercrombie and Fitch. Try to go into that type of industry. So I've had some type of experience in the retail industry. I want to go into that type of industry. A lot of the times too, if you don't know what industry you want to go into, go to a firm that offers a generalist model. From there, you get put into different types of projects, different types of industries, and then you get to figure out what you want to do specifically. And it gives you an advantage of at least knowing what you would like to do. But if you don't know what you would like to do, the advantage is you get to see a bunch of different industries. And that just gives you a wide scope of things that you've handled and projects that you've held under your belt. So I think seeing a wide scope of industries is good. Some people might say that they want to specialize really early on, and they already have a focus on a specific industry. But like for me, I would love any type of generalist model. Like I know that I don't want to be working in healthcare for the rest of my life, but I don't know what industry I do want to be working in for the rest of my life too. So I don't know if that answers that question. Do consultants do any rotational programs? That's a great question. Some of them do. So like at EY last summer, I rotated between business valuations, which was one practice within M&A consulting, and then I also rotated within transaction diligence. Most firms, what they would do is they would have you either come in as a certain type of consultant, so whether that's strategy, tech, or just like at Accenture, the three main pipelines at Accenture are consulting, tech, and strategy, right? So if you want to start in the consulting group and have some projects in the strategy space, that's something you just really have to let your manager know. Other than that, more or less they'll just assign you to the projects that they have or the availability that they have. But I think another thing I would say about consulting is once you're in the firm, getting projects and getting on the projects you like is a lot of networking. So this is something that was completely surprised me when I was recruiting. When I was recruiting with people at Accenture or talking to people at Accenture, what they told me is that Accenture, they basically have to network for their projects. So say they're done with a project, the way that they would find a new project is by utilizing their network within Accenture. So you might not like if you utilize your network there and I start utilizing my network there, I might not be on solely strategy projects. I might network with somebody who works within the consulting group or the tech group, and I might get some exposure to the product to those groups. But most of the time, they try to keep you in one group, and then from there, just give you exposure to different industries. Awesome. Any other ones? Perfect. Awesome. So now I'm going to talk about the different types of firms in consulting, and I'm also going to give you some type of projects that they might do. Just so that you guys know the landscape and you guys know about the firms that we talk about, and maybe like the tier or the ranking system. when it comes to consulting firms. So this is usually in the rank of prestige, pay, and then the other one is more or less like, I guess I would say prestige and pay is usually like the ranking here. But also I would say is how well known it is too. So like if you're trying to take your exit opportunity somewhere else, you're probably at a bigger benefit being at an EY rather than an Oliver Wyman, even though Oliver Wyman is a bigger company. Just because EY has a bigger name behind it, and you could probably leverage that to get to a bigger position. But I wouldn't say that's always the case because, like I said, Oliver Wyman pays the same as these three big boys right here. So, um, the three main firms that we have here, the top three firms are considered MBB. When I talk about MBB, it's similar like Big Four in accounting, but this is for consulting. McKinsey, Bain, and BCG. This is where everyone wants to work. And whether you want to work there now or whether you know you want to work there now, most people who strive for a career in consulting want to work at one of these firms. I would love to work at Bain. That is like my dream, and that's where I'm going to try to recruit to. But if I go recruit to any of these companies, I'd be super, super happy. What is special about the MBB is that they're usually specialized in only strategy consulting. And they're considered the top players in strategy consulting and in the industry overall. They serve the top clients. So the biggest projects, the top clients, they are on them. Bain is known as the more fratty firm. A lot of the deals that they're doing are in the private equity space. So a lot of the background that you see there is a finance major. McKinsey is really well known in the nonprofit space, and really big in the government space too. So if you want to do something with nonprofits or you want to work with government institutions or government bodies, McKinsey does a lot of work with those. And then BCG is known as the brainiest of the group. So these are like the nerds or like the smartest people. They're also top contenders in the nonprofit space. They're a really good consulting firm. Their real name is Boston Consulting Group. So for MBB, we have BCG, which is Boston Consulting Group, Bain, McKinsey and Company. So if you could ever reach out to any of these people or have the opportunity to talk to any of these people, please do. Or to go to any of these events. These are really well-known firms, and this name on your resume for like some type of case competition or this name on your resume for anything is really valuable, and gives you a certain level of prestige too. Um, are any of these firms operating in Chicago? Yeah, so BCG has a new office in Chicago. It's actually pretty close to UIC. It's beautiful. Bain has an office in Chicago, and then McKinsey has an office in Chicago. And you'll see that most of these consulting firms operate in Chicago. A lot of them too also operate in New York City. Washington, D.C. is another big one. LA. But you'll see a wide scope. Some of these will be in like Salt Lake City. And you'll be like, what the fuck? But yeah. So after MBB, right under that is tier two firms. Most of these, I guess the specialty or their competitive advantage is that they're really specialized in certain industries. So like LEK Consulting or EY Parthenon, um, LEK Consulting, their specialty is commercial due diligence, specifically in the life science space and in the healthcare space. EY Parthenon is really known for their private equity practice too. So they compete with Bain, and they're one of the only consulting firms that can really compete with Bain in terms of private equity deals and M&A deals. They're really good in the sectors of education, private equity, and healthcare. So like I just mentioned, Oliver Wyman is pretty similar in terms of M&A and the deals that they do. But a lot of their work is centered around strategy and organizational change. A lot of their work, though, is done with financial service firms. So I was really passionate about recruiting for Oliver Wyman. Literally, the only people I could find were people that were within the financial service group, and they hated their life. They were working like 70, 80 hours each week, and I was on coffee chats with them, and they would literally be still working. Like, they couldn't even give me the time of day. Lastly, we have Accenture. Accenture is actually the biggest consulting firm. It's actually publicly traded too. As you can see here, McKinsey only has 38,000 employees. Accenture has 721,000 employees. They are huge. They're around the globe. So if you're trying to work somewhere in like India or you're trying to work somewhere, I guess globally, the first one that came to my mind was India. They have an office there. I know they have one in Britain too. They have them all over the United States, but they have employees everywhere and they have a presence everywhere globally too. We have a really good tie with Accenture. Like I said, I'm going to be working at Accenture. Our past president worked at Accenture, and then the person who founded this club works at Accenture. So like if you're really trying to recruit and you're really interested in that, just reach out to me. Like, there's a lot of leadership programs that are going on right now. There's a lot of opportunities to network with people within Accenture, and we have a strong UIC alumni base within Accenture. In comparison to all these other firms like LEK, EY Parthenon, Oliver Wyman, McKinsey, Bain, BCG, you're lucky if you find within all those firms, you're lucky if you find 40 people who went to UIC. And within McKinsey, Bain, and BCG, I think there's less than 15 people who went to UIC ever that worked there. And I'm going to teach you how to find that in a couple seconds too, so don't even worry about that. Lastly, after tier two, we go into big four. So MBB, tier two firms, and then we go into the big four. Big four is the accounting big four. So EY, Deloitte, PwC, KPMG. The other two practices here, so when I went to tier two and MBB, most of these firms focus on strategy consulting. However, a lot of them do offer some type of implementation consulting arm. Big Four only focuses on implementation consulting. They do no strategy play. They're not competing with McKinsey, Bain, BCG. What they are doing is they're working after McKinsey, Bain, BCG comes up with the strategy, and they're actually implementing that. So that's what I did at EY this summer. I did their transaction services and deals team, or you could think M&A consulting. But all of these firms offer that same type of program, Deloitte, PwC, KPMG. You could also look into their tech consulting arms, so tech implementation or transformation is another one. Like business transformations is a huge one. We actually had a person come in from EY a couple weeks ago, and he was doing business transformation. So it's a really big practice there. I know at EY New York, a lot of people were in the tech consulting practice too. So just know, like, you don't only have to be a finance or accounting or some type of business major to break into one of these careers. You could also have some engineering background or even like a pharma background and use that and utilize that to work at one of these firms. A lot of times consulting is just having some type of specialty in a certain type of field. Awesome. So I want to give you guys kind of some examples of strategy consulting projects. And this was Bain. So Bain was enlisted by Estée Lauder to evaluate its pricing strategy and potential price harmonization across different regions, beginning with a focus on the Australian market. So price discrepancies between the geographies, particularly due to online shopping, were becoming super apparent. And the products from Estée Lauder were costing significantly more in Australia compared to the US. So they had to kind of figure out what was the right pricing that you could implement or have for this product in Australia. And this is kind of one of the results that they had from there. So a recent survey revealed that a majority, 65% of Australian consumers are unwilling to pay a premium for local purchases, with only a small percentage, 1%, willing to pay 15% higher, meaning this was eating into their sales. Like 65% of people were not buying this product just because of the premium that they had to pay in comparison to the United States. So if they could find a way to, I guess, price this product correctly, it could really boost their sales. And that's one of the projects that Bain was put on and engaged on. Tech consulting. So I think I go tech consulting or strategy consulting, tech consulting, operational consulting. And then from there, I'll just skip the other one. This was a project done by Accenture. And this was done for an insurance company. So they partnered with Accenture to revolutionize its claims management system, which I think that just means since it's an insurance company, if you file a claim to your insurance company, they have some type of system or some type of technology that runs that in the background. Well, this needed to be updated, and that's what Accenture came in to do. So, cloud platforms are critical in the property and insurance sector, yet strict regulation, security threats, and the burden of legacy claims, uh, they deferred AXA from making the actual move. Accenture modernized these claim management systems using cloud technology, and then from there they shifted their system to AWS. So that's the type of consulting that you could literally go into. AWS, Salesforce consulting. It's a specific practice within itself, and what you're doing there is just implementing these large technologies to these large companies. So this is what Accenture did here. It was a cloud transformation project. And then this is the last one. This is DuPont. So this is operational consulting. And I'm just doing this so that you guys can have more or less an idea of what these projects might be or what they might do day to day. So this was DuPont operational consulting project, specifically a supply chain project. So DuPont, a corporation in the materials industry, partnered with EY to develop a customized digital platform to optimize their supply chain. The reason for this was market volatility increased and the company's planners struggled to anticipate and manage disruption within their supply chain. So EY developed a supply chain cockpit, a digital platform offering real-time scenarios modeling for mobility and material division. This tool integrates various supply chains and financial factors, empowering DuPont to optimize its procurement, align its supply chain with its actual demand, and enhance inventory planning for a 24-month period. So this is kind of the scope of the projects. This is what you could expect from maybe some project that you might be put on. Um, and this is something that you could use within like networking chats too. So, oh, were you on the DuPont deal with within the supply chain project? That could be something that you asked if you're networking with someone within the supply chain. So, it's just good reference to have, and I wanted you guys to at least be aware of what's happening here. So now I'm going to go into networking, give you guys some principles in terms of networking, and then from there teach you guys how to do this. And at the end of this, I hope you guys are better at networking than me, or at least have the right skill set to approach networking. So in terms of why we network, I think there's four main reasons in terms of why we should be networking, and specifically in consulting. So in consulting, a lot of the interview process is, do you know someone?
Hey
Or can
Elijah.
somebody vouch for you within this firm?
Elijah,
And the way
there's a
that happens
question in
is
the
a lot
chat.
of times through coffee chats, through information sessions where you meet consultants, or through just natural connections that you may have from like family and stuff like that. But the reason that we actually network is four main reasons. So fit. So we want to figure out if the firm is actually a good fit for you. We also want to learn how to become a stronger candidate. And by talking to people who have actually gone through the interviewing process and have actually gone through the struggle of maybe prepping for case interviews and stuff like that, you can learn a lot from these people and utilize the resources that they may have used to learn more, or just to even stand out in terms of recruiting. Lastly, last 2 points I want to talk about is for the interview. So if you're interviewing with a firm, you want to make yourself known as a candidate. And the way you could do that is by talking to people within the specific team that you're applying for. So if I'm applying to the strategy consulting group, I know that I should only be reaching out to strategy consultants. There's no reason for me to be talking to tech consultants. There's no reason for me to be talking to tech consultants in Chicago if I'm trying to work in LA. And there's no reason for me to be talking to consultants in LA if I'm trying to work in Chicago, right? Focus on who you're trying to network with and why you're trying to network with. At the end of this, networking is trying to learn more, trying to see if you're a good fit for the role, and then from there trying to actually land a position within the company. So we want to make sure that you make yourself known within the interview process, and I think one great way to do this is networking. Um, and then lastly, most of it's like help. So these people could help you later on in terms of case prepping, looking over your resume, or just being that general mentor that you guys might need. So yeah, awesome. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple people that you could network with, to make it maybe a little bit more easier for you guys. Okay, actually, I got some questions here. You can see BCG on the highway commute. Yeah, you can. I know EY has consulting sector and there's EY Parthenon. Are you able to go into the differences? Um, okay, actually, let me go back to that. EY Parthenon versus EY. You see the same logo there? EY Parthenon itself is the strategy consulting arm of EY. Like I said, the big four doesn't do any type of strategy consulting. So the way that they get into the strategy space is by deploying EY Parthenon. EY Parthenon has a specific focus, specifically in private equity and mergers and acquisitions. In comparison to EY, they'll basically service anything and they'll do any type of implementation project. So that's kind of the difference there. Um, and then there was another question: is there a site that gives problems like these to work on? In terms of problems, I'm assuming that you were talking about stuff like this. There's a lot of case books. So inevitably, when we teach you guys how to case, I'm gonna give you guys a bunch of case books. And from there, you're gonna have many problems that you guys are gonna have to literally strategize yourself. And there'll be answers at the bottoms, but a lot of these are called case books. And if you're ever interested in learning more about this is like more or less a project that a consultant might be put on. However, casebooks are more or less uh, consulting interview examples that you might see in any type of interview at a firm. So that might be a way to look at the problems that they might work on. If you're trying to maybe network and utilize, one of the projects that they worked on in your networking chat, what I would say is go to their website. A lot of the time after the project is done, they'll post the results from their website so that their next clients can see um, what the company is doing and what impact they're actually bringing to the company. Uh, Sorry about that for going backwards here. So we were just in the why do we network? Um, so who should we network with? Yes, of course, I got you guys. So who should we network with? So I'm gonna give you three people to network with, and it's kind of like a baseline. So you could network with incoming interns. So I think this is more of a risk-free approach, meaning like there's no stake in the game. If you fuck up with incoming interns, it doesn't really matter. They really don't have any say at the company yet. And it really gives you an opportunity to learn the ropes within the firm, um, potentially make a friend, I mean, within the firm also, and then make changes based on that advice. So when I was initially interviewing with Accenture, I knew that our president worked there right now. I knew that he didn't work in the strategy consulting group, but he had a lot of people that worked in the strategy consulting group. So I utilized his network to inevitably become my network. And it was a lot more risk-free talking to them because I got to see what they were doing over the summer. And a lot of times when you're talking to consultants, they've been in the industry 3, 4 years, so they're talking in a different language. For you, sometimes you don't even understand what the hell they're saying. And with incoming interns, it's a lot easier um, to really ask them those dumb questions or even ask them to dumb it down a little bit because they kind of understand where you're at. In terms of another person or another way to reach out to people is incoming full-time people. So they'll literally list this out on their LinkedIn. If you looked at my LinkedIn right now, it says incoming strategy summer analyst at Accenture. So you'll see this. If they're an intern there, they'll list it out, especially if it's like one of these big firms. If they're incoming full-time, so they've done the internship already, but they're waiting to start full-time, this could be a little bit more formal. It's more or less kind of the same idea. You're just trying to learn the ropes within the firm, and trying to make changes based on the advice. But what I would say is incoming full-time people are a lot easier to access because they're either in school right now or they're graduated and they're not doing shit. So like they have a lot more free time in comparison to the actual consultants when that's actually like go time. So if you're reaching out to actual consultants, I wouldn't say that you have to be in an amazing spot to interview, but what I would say is at least know why you want to go into consulting, know what consulting is at a specific, at a basic level, and then from there, have some questions prepared before you even go into one of these chats. These should be almost treated like an interview, and I'll talk about them a little bit more. But this is a really good opportunity to really put your face out there. So if you don't talk to the actual people that are working there, no one's gonna ever know your name. So what I want you guys to do is actually be prepared before you go out and talk to these consultants. So maybe what you could do is, reach out to incoming full-time people or reach out to incoming interns to learn more about the company and then from there move on into actual consultants. Okay, so how do I find these consultants? So you're talking about, who should I network with, blah blah blah, but like how do I find them? And I think there's 4 ways to do this. You reach out to alumni, whether that's through LinkedIn or email or some type of event where they come on to UIC. That's going to be your best bet. I mean, they kind of know the ropes. They kind of know where you're at right now. They've probably been part of the same clubs that you're part of. So this is something that you guys could easily relate on. And these are people that are more willing to respond than other people. Another thing I would say is a lot of these firms put on diversity and leadership events. So if you're Black, Hispanic, a woman, if you're some type of, I don't know, minority, or if you're a freshman or a sophomore, a lot of these firms they offer some type of leadership programs or diversity programs where you get to come into the firm for 2 days, one day, or sometimes it's even a virtual event but you get to meet the recruiters and you get to meet consultants. And a lot of times they put you out into breakout rooms. And this is a really good opportunity to meet people outside of maybe the UIC alumni or what we're bringing to UIC. This is an opportunity for you to, put the initiative out there and to sign up for programs and to actually expose yourself. The big thing about consulting is just being comfortable being uncomfortable. And you'll inevitably learn that in terms of when you're up there presenting or when you're up there pitching something that you might not know the full solution to. But being at these programs really gives you at least some type of network, community of people who are actually interested in consulting, and it gives you more of an access to these networks. So like when I did a diversity program with EY. It was called the EY, I think it was called Discover EY. They brought over 500 students to Washington, D.C. And what they did there is they literally just taught us about the firm, the culture of the firm, and at the end of it, all of us got an interview. All of us got an interview. And that's how I got my job at EY. So reach out, look for these programs. The way that I would go about looking for these programs is here. Let me stop sharing my screen real quick and let me share this screen right here. Okay, perfect. Let me pull this up here. Let me see if I can go on like RSM's website. No, we got RSM coming in later on. RSM careers. I hope this doesn't. There we go. Okay. So if you go to any company, literally search up, and you guys can see this right now. You see it, Matthew? Perfect. Awesome. If you go to any company and you go to their career website, usually it's their talent community. That's usually for younger students. But if you go up here, student opportunities, we're all students most of the time. So look for those. Search open roles. And this is usually going to bring you to their workday or whatever system they have in terms of hiring and stuff like that. So here you can see it's the workday. And if I'm not mistaken, right now, RSM has some type of leadership program. Let me see if I can find this. See, management consulting. Let's see if I can find this. Swear to God, I saw something on it on LinkedIn today, so that's why I'm on RSM. Transaction advisory. Okay. Well, if not, let's go to BCG's website. Careers. I'm probably just skipping over something here, but see if we can find something within FC or BCG. So a lot of these are going to be pretty similar in terms of searching up here, internship opportunities on campus. So let's search early careers. Early careers usually means we have some type of program or some type of diversity program where we want to meet you early. And that's kind of the whole goal of it. So let's see. Explore open roles. So you can find any consulting. Probably going to be in the open roles. Inverto. Not finding any here, but here, let's just search up diversity leadership programs. Corn Ferry, DI, diversity leadership programs. That one's not from an actual consulting firm, but you can kind of see some of their initiatives. So this is BCG, even though we weren't able to find any a couple seconds ago, but sometimes you have to just look around the website. But a lot of the times it is in the careers, and they have the specific type of programs that they did. Forgot which one I did for but this was the one I did for UI. Discover UI. These are great programs. And this one's up right now too. I don't know if the application's up, but yeah, so I don't have really any too much information on it, but this is one of the programs that they have. Student programs. There you go. There you go. Student programs from EY. Discover EY, interactive program for first years, future leadership program, 3D for CPAs, Expedition EY, virtual program that brings a diverse group of peers to work together. So these are all different, women in technology, all different programs and different conferences that you could sign up for that a lot of these firms offer. It's just I didn't really have the time to kind of look for them, but these are some of them. And these are considered student programs or diversity programs, leadership programs, whatever you want to call them. So let me start sharing my presentation again. Yes. Okay, perfect. Lastly, what I would say is either come to one of our FCG events. We're going to try to bring as many companies in. We're going to try to bring in the recruiters, and also consultants from the firm. And then also, lastly, what I would say is cold outreach. So cold outreach is either LinkedIn or email. So let me move on to the next slide here. So LinkedIn or email. So um, there's two ways to network in terms of cold outreach. And what I would say is it's either LinkedIn or through your email. LinkedIn, what I would say is always request or connect with someone using some type of note. Mention why you're connecting with them, and it increases the likelihood that you'll actually get your accepted. And one other thing I would say is keep your LinkedIn profile as updated as you can to show that you're serious about your career. So like say you message me, I'm trying to see if I want to answer this message, and then I go look at your LinkedIn profile and you have no headshot, no background, no professional experiences, you're not even part of the consulting club. Why the hell would I talk to you? Right? Like what do I have what reason do I have to talk to you, right? So you have to kind of, give them a reason to talk to you. And maybe if your LinkedIn's terrible and you don't want to, you know, uh, update that at all, you can utilize email. So in terms of email, there's two resources I'm about to show you guys. One of them is called Contact Out, and then the other one's called Apollo AI. This is how you source emails from consultants so that you could send them emails and set up these coffee chats. The rationale behind sending an email is the fact that consultants check their email actually every day, and email is less commonly used by others. It offers no character limits, unlike LinkedIn, and allows you to get into more detail. So let me show you guys actually what Contact Out is, and let me show you the power of this because the shit is insane. And I use this stuff all the time when I'm not working. So please feel free to use it. But if you search up Contact Out and Apollo AI are two extensions. And when I mean extensions, it basically just means that I could come up to here, this little button right here, and click either Folk X or Email Finder, and the power of the tool will be utilized, right? So that's what a Chrome extension is. So if you go to Contact Out, you sign up for this and you make an account. Basically, what happens is when you go to search up somebody's account, and we'll search Karina Utush. She works at Accenture. She's pretty well known within the UIC alumni base. All I have to do now is because I have Contact Out downloaded, or Apollo AI is the other one. You can use Contact Out or Apollo AI. But basically what you do is you come up here to the top right, you click on this extension, click Email Finder, and then basically what happens is this thing finds you the email. I don't know why it's not. Okay, there you go. Perfect. So now I click View Email. And I got all her emails. So the Accenture one, I could reach out to Accenture one. Usually what you would want to do is reach out to their work email. But I also have her personal email here too. And I could actually vouch that this is her email. So I could just copy that, take that to my Gmail now, and then start typing up a message. So this is something really powerful that I want to recommend to you guys. I would highly recommend putting this on in terms of as a Chrome extension, because this will be highly useful when it comes to networking for a career in consulting. Um, Somebody asked, how should we connect with firms at career fairs? Are any of these companies coming to UIC's career fair? So you see a lot of the big four at the career fairs. A lot of time they're recruiting for accounting and not recruiting for consulting in specific. I can tell you EY and KPMG, they do hire UIC students into consulting. PwC does not off the get-go. I know that they have some sophomore programs that you could sign up for, but they usually do not. You'll never see McKinsey, Bain, and BCG at UIC. I could guarantee you that. And the day we do, shoot me dead, because it's UIC's at a different level at that point. But the way that you reach out to like those McKinsey, Bains, or BCGs is through LinkedIn or through email. And that's why we're kind of going through this. But if you're at the career fairs, what I would say is honestly at the career fairs, it's kind of tough. What I would try to do at any type of career fair is either get the email of the recruiter and try to hop on a call later on so that I could stand out personally. Or what I would just try to do is, try to go through some conversations, meet some of the consultants from there, have some good conversations, ask them about their work and stuff like that. And then from there, try to get some type of contact information. The whole point is try to get some contact information out of them. If you can't, perfectly fine. Just leave a resume there or whatever you can. Try to leave your contact info with them. But I mean, it's kind of tough when it comes to career fairs because there's so many people there, and usually they're recruiting for certain types of positions. So they'll limit you too. So if I'm coming here recruiting for audit and accounting roles, more or less likely not to. If I'm recruiting for accounting roles, I'm more or less not going to be willing to give out a consulting role because we came in trying to look for 2025 accounting roles to fill our tax and accounting or tax and audit seats. So sometimes it becomes a little bit hard, but try to meet the recruiters, try to show good face at any of these events, and just try to be as nice as possible. Um, Consulting timelines seem to be early, fall, late summer. So yeah, they are super early. It's usually late summer or in the fall. And that's why we're doing the consulting development program right now. Because we want you guys to be ready to go for when recruiting season comes out. And I think networking should start right now. Realistically, it should probably start like 6 months out, but we're about 6 months out from recruiting season. So right now, you really just want to build face, learn more about the firms, and really get your name out there in terms of I'm getting ready to recruit in consulting. These are the steps that I need, or what are the steps that I need to take? Okay, perfect. Let me share my screen over here one more time. Screen one, actually though, screen two, share. Okay, perfect. So that was our live session of Apollo AI. So, like I said, there's either networking through email or networking through your LinkedIn. So, in terms of email, what are some things that you should keep in mind? You should always introduce yourself. Try to be as professional as possible. No slang or any type of uh, just any type of slang or any cheat cuts when it comes to words. Try to be concise. So, when I say concise, if they're going to respond, make sure that they can respond in about 1 to 2 sentences. So, yeah, that time works for me. Would love to set it up on this specific day. Can't wait to meet you. Like it should be a really easy response in terms of what you're sending to them. Try to be genuine and not transactional at all. Also be respectful of their time. So if you ask them for 30 minutes of their time, only take up 30 minutes of their time. Do not take up 32. Do not take up 31. If you want to go less, that's fine, but do not go over that time. If you're sending out an email, what I would try to do is always send your resume with it, just so that they could get some more context about you. And then from there, also offer to send a Google Calendar invite or a Zoom link, just to make everything easier for them. You don't really want them doing anything. It's more or less on your side. Awesome. So this is an example. This is literally from the template that I gave you guys. So if you guys were here in the beginning, I dropped something in the chat. It was a template for networking. One was a Word doc, and then another one was a tracker for an Excel. But this is a basic example. So I introduced myself. Glad to meet you via email. I basically they came to a recent info session, and I heard their name around FCG, but was excited to meet you outside of a group setting. My name is Elijah Kino. I'm an incoming junior at UIC working towards a dual major in finance and accounting. I love to chat with you, to introduce myself, get to know you, and ask a few questions about Bain and recruiting for internships within the Bain Chicago office. I've included my availability below, but uh, would you have a good time in one of those windows to hop on a quick Zoom call? So here I'm just making it super easy, quick introduction about myself. From there, I'm doing the ask. So usually the way it starts is introduce yourself, give a little bit of background. From there, you actually do the ask. So I'd love to chat. I'd love to introduce myself. I'd love to whatever. And then from there, at the bottom, usually what I try to do, especially in an email, is just include all the availability that you have. So just literally list out the times that you are available to talk. And it makes it easier for them in terms of finding times and actually responding. You want to make it as easy as possible for them, and this is just one way of doing it. Okay, move on to the next example. Okay, perfect. So that's email. Now we move on to LinkedIn. So perfect. So it's kind of similar guidelines to email in terms of keeping it short, trying to be concise. But a lot of times it's a lot shorter. So with LinkedIn, you only have 300 characters to send out. So you have to be a lot more strategic about what you're sending out. Send a message along with a connection request. So anytime that you're trying to connect with someone, try to send a message in there so that they kind of can put a name to the face or a reason to even talk to you or accept your request. So a lot of times you could be like, oh, I also played soccer in high school or something. You could just look at their LinkedIn profile, see some of their interests, and then mention it when you're reaching out to them. You're more likely to connect with someone who you know or have some type of connection with. Another thing I would say is focus on people lower on the totem pole. So consultants with 0 to 4 experience, 0 to 4 years of experience. These are a lot of the times the people that are on the recruiting teams. These are people that are doing work that's a lot more similar to what you'll be doing if you come in day one of the job. So you want to be talking to people within this field, or within this years of experience so that you could really get a full scope of what you're going to be doing and also get an opportunity to talk to consultants that are doing actual work that you might be doing. One other thing I would just recommend is just turn on your message notifications just to make sure that you're responding as quickly as possible in case you do get a response. Okay, so how to find people on LinkedIn. This is literally going to be live, so I'm just going to share my I'm going to share my screen really quick. But actually, I'm just going to share my screen because it's going to make it a lot easier. So, how to find people on LinkedIn, how to utilize LinkedIn to, refine your search, how to find consultants overall. All right. If I wanted to find a consultant on LinkedIn in the Chicago area at a specific company, I'm going to say Bain today. Actually, we'll say EY today because it's a lot easier to break into EY than maybe a Bain. So, and there's probably a lot more people from EY at uh, or from people from UIC at EY. So what I would first do is I would come up to the search bar at the top. I am searching up the word consultant. Can you guys see my screen? No? Okay. Yeah, let me do that first before I share my screen. Screen 3, share. You can see my screen now. Awesome. So I come to LinkedIn. I come up to the search bar, and what I'm going to do is I know that I want to network with consultants, people who work in the consulting industry. Their name and the title is what I'm going to be basically searching up. So if somebody is a business analyst and that's how the firm starts, if that's the first step of your career, a business analyst, search up business analyst. But I know that I want to talk to consultants, and consultants are usually 3 to 4 years out of that first position. So usually you would start at a business analyst, and then from there you would either move into a consultant or some type of associate. But I want to talk to consultants. Awesome. So I just searched up consultants, and it's going to bring a bunch of shit up, right? But what I want to talk to is specifically people. So I'm going to go to this top left corner up here, and I'm going to click people. Awesome. So once I click people, like I said, I do not want to be talking to LA people if I don't want to work in fucking LA. I want to talk to Chicago people because I want to be in Chicago. I want to talk to New York people because New York's the best city in the fucking world. That's how I want to treat it, right? So like I know that Chicago, I want to be in. So usually what I search by is Greater Chicago area or Chicago. But you could also search Illinois too. So from there, now you get all the consultants. So people that have consultants on their name title right here in the Chicago area. And now what you could do is go and actually go to a specific firm. So I know that I want to go to EY or Accenture. That's why I want to recruit. So I'm going to put that there. Now I got all the EY consultants from Chicago at Accenture or EY, right? So now I'm going to keep going with these filters over here, and I want to find all the UIC alum. Eli told me that the UIC alum are more likely to respond. So I'm going to go over here to all filters, and then from there, I'm going to search up UIC. UIC. From there, 127 results. So we have over 127 people working in consulting from UIC in the Chicagoland area, that either work at EY or Accenture that went to UIC. So if there's anything else I want to throw in there, I can, but I think for me, that's usually the extent of where I go. I usually try to search through their school, their location, the current company that they're working at. But if you don't know what company that you want to talk to, just take this off. Now you got all the consultants within a specific spectrum. If you want to search tech consultants, and do the exact same shit over and over again. Actually, the filters still apply. Now you can talk to all the tech consultants within whatever space. So this is kind of just a way to think about networking, and this is a way to utilize LinkedIn to find people fast, and a lot of people fast too. So this is one thing I use all the time. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. So perfect. Let me share this really quick. And can you see my screen, Matthew? But okay, awesome. So that's kind of what I was talking about here. If you guys want to use this later on, you can, but this is kind of the idea here. Initiate the search, refine by your location, filter by the current company, and then utilize school connections. And then from there, what I would also try to do is any profile that you're clicking into, try to find any common background that you guys have. And when you're sending that LinkedIn invite, um, try to connect on that point. So actually, I want to share this screen again, just so that I could show you guys how to do that. So let me see. Share really quick. Screen 3. Okay, perfect. So this girl right here, like if I wanted to go connect with Lizette, basically what I'm saying is here, either click more. Sometimes it's going to be more, or sometimes it's just going to be the connect button. But this is what pops up basically. So either on connect, or you can find it with more and it will say send an invite. You want to send and add a note. And then from here, you kind of want to just use the template that I gave you, introduce yourself, and tell them why you want to go into consulting and have some type of connection point there too. This is how you're going to get more people to actually accept your request. And this is something that's pretty much crucial when it comes to sending out an invite. Somebody asked, do I recommend buying LinkedIn Premium? Have you ever used it or heard that it's helped anyone with networking? I use LinkedIn Premium. I pay the $300 a year or something like that. Do I need to? Honestly, no, not really. But it does give me access. So instead of 200 characters, I could use 300 characters when I'm reaching out to people. It gives me access to search as many people as I want. So for me, I thought it was super useful. If you want to try it out for a month, you can. And I also have some, if I'm not mistaken, I have some codes where you could do it for like 3 months with one of the chats that I'm part of. So um, that's one thing. If you're interested in that, just let me know. I'm gonna try to wrap this up here because I know we're getting close to 7, but I just got a few more points here, and then we will get the hell out of here. So these are some of the examples I would put. Can you guys see my screen? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So these are some of the examples here in terms of requests that I've sent out in the past. For me, I've tried to either reach out to people with the same name as me. So Elijah, I think it's really creative. And the first thing I say is great name, by the way. I say, hi, Elijah, great name, by the way. Sometimes I see it works, but sometimes I don't. Another way to do it is more or less finding some type of connection point. So with Ethan Jones here at the bottom, what I did is I'd love to chat about any experience or about your experiences and any advice you would have. But I also mentioned that I was going to Austin soon, which I knew he was from the University of Texas, Austin. So I made sure to mention that. In terms of Atar Koshti over here, he worked at Leland, which is a product that I use all the time. And I thought that was pretty cool. So I reached out to him, and all these people were super influential in terms of landing me a career or just helping me out in terms of recruiting and stuff like that. So after this, I want to go over the patterns. So usually you find them on LinkedIn, you're on email, you introduce yourself, you tell them how you found them, and then from there you tell them like why consulting. Then from there, you're actually on the call. So do some research before you hop on a call, learn more about them, have some questions prepared. But the whole goal of this is to learn more about them and why the firm. And you should have some stories ready in terms of your background too, because they're going to ask you some questions. But after the call, what I would try to do is some type of follow-up with them. So try to keep them in the loop, try to update them on maybe on your career progression or any case competitions that you have done or anything related to the field. And thank them for taking the time to. So send them an email after and thank them. And then if you ever want to talk to them again, or say recruiting cycle is coming on, and you want to, show your face one more time before you start the application process, come in with new questions, be ready to chat. And one thing that I try to do every time is anytime I'm on a chat, try to remember one thing about them that's unique about them. So that I could bring it up in the future context. So as they have any kids or say they were going to a place right now, I try to bring that up in the future just so that they know that I truly care. And then lastly, the whole goal of these calls is to try to get some real help. And the real help that I'm talking about is helping you case. So teaching you how to case. So this is a big time commitment for them. So really you want to practice with other people before you go to the actual consultants. But these are people that you could utilize in terms of practicing for when you're actually recruiting for these firms. Awesome. So I'm gonna actually I won't skip this. I won't do you guys bogus. I'm just gonna fucking go. Um, so let me share this screen really quick. Share. Okay. So how to send a Zoom invite. All of us through UIC have free Zoom. Free for however fucking long we want. So utilize it, please. You guys pay to be here, so utilize it. If you guys are trying to schedule a chat with someone, click here on the schedule thing, open up the Zoom app, click schedule. From there, it's going to basically prompt you into some type of like setting up the meeting. Usually what I would try to do is Elijah Aquino and their name, coffee chat. From there, I would make sure that I know what time zone that they're in. So most of the time I'm talking to people in the Chicago or Central time zone, but some people are in Eastern time zone. Be aware of that. From there, you type in the email there. So I'm going to send this to myself, Elijah, Elijah B. Aquino at gmail.com. Perfect. And then from there down here, there's usually something that says calendar. This
Left
gives them the
screen.
option to have some type of calendar invite. So you could either do Google Calendar or Outlook Calendar. But usually what I try to do is Google Calendar because I have everything synced from there. And then from there, once you actually press send, on their side, they'll receive an invite, which should look something like Gmail. It should look something like this over here.
We can't see your screen.
Oh, thank you, your dog. Appreciate it. Let me share my screen. Matthew, bro, you got to tell me, man. Can you see my screen now?
We could see your Gmail, but we couldn't
Okay,
see
yeah,
you were in
that's exactly
LinkedIn.
what it was. Okay, so
I mean, when
Zoom,
you were in the Zoom, we couldn't
yeah,
see your Zoom
got it. Can you see it
scheduling
now?
thing. We can only see we could see the BCG.
Can you see this now?
All I see is BCG.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me go to screen one, share, exit, exit, bring this here. Can you see this now?
Only your desktop.
Wow, what the fuck? What is going on? All right, whatever. I guess let me try one more thing. Actually, let me just, there you go. That's the wrong screen. Fuck. Okay. Well, what I'm gonna do is just share the Prezi again, and I'll send out something with the Zoom link so that you guys can see it. Can you see my screen presentation right now?
Nope, it's just you.
Let me press share first. How about now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay. Let me rekindle here. Okay, so some of the fundamentals I want to talk about in terms of coffee chat. So now what you have learned is how to source the LinkedIn. Inevitably, you'll learn how to send the actual invite or send a Zoom invite. But if you want to learn how to send a Zoom invite, either just search it up or I'll send a link later on so that you guys can kind of learn a little bit more about that. But you've already sent the invite. Now you have the coffee chat actually secured. So what should you do? So before you even enter a coffee chat, you want to do some background research and find some questions to actually ask them using their LinkedIn or using, whatever career history or background they might have. Then what you want to do is literally hop on the call, thank them for taking the time to hop on the call. And then from there, try to either introduce yourself or let them introduce themselves. After they introduce themselves, introduce yourselves and just basically have your interview story ready. So like if somebody asks you, tell me about yourself, have that ready. And then also at the end, mention why you want to go into consulting. Then from there, just try to be as genuine as personal as possible. Treat everyone at every firm with the same level of respect that you do the first person. And then try to tell a consistent story overall. So why you want to go into consulting, why you want to do that specific type of consulting, and in terms of recruiting, how you're doing in terms of recruiting. Like I said earlier, is find one thing that they actually care about and remember that so that you could actually connect with that later on. Awesome. So remember, a coffee chat is basically an interview. It's an informal interview. So for them, try to be as interested as possible in them. Try to establish a meaningful connection. And the way that I think you can do that is by asking meaningful questions. And sometimes you gotta ask personal questions. I would usually try to avoid them, but as personal as I would get is maybe if like you have wife and kids and how that affects your work-life balance. So that's maybe a different way of learning more about them. And don't ask the same question twice. Make sure that whatever question you're asking is just getting to the point and you aren't maybe repeating yourself or making them say the same thing over and over again. For you, try to make yourself as memorable as possible. Whether that's through your personality or whatever connection you might have with them, try to show your personality and try to make yourself as memorable as possible. Share as much information as you can about yourself in terms of stuff that actually relates to the job, and things that are relevant. So any internship experience, any case competitions, any clubs that you're part of, um, feel free to talk to them about. Be prepared to talk about your resume. So like I said, you're going to be attaching your resume or at least have your LinkedIn profile when you're messaging people. So people are going to take a look. So be ready to talk about your experiences, why you did them and what you liked out of them, and maybe what transferable skills come out of consulting from that. And then try to end on time, even if they don't cut you off. So I'm actually really bad about that right now, but usually what you try to do is be respectful of people's time and try to end on time. So and set up a time that both works for you. And like I said, be on start and on end time uh, with ending. Last thing that I would try to say is after you get off the coffee chat, after 24 to 48 hours, try to thank them. The way I do this is I literally my subject title is thank you and then dash Elijah Aquino, so that they clearly see my name and they clearly see it's a thank you message. And then from there, just say, more or less, it was a pleasure meeting you. Try to mention one thing that they talked about within the chat that you guys had and try to bring that up again. So I really liked how you talked about your specific experience on this project. I really liked that you could do stuff like that at Accenture or whatever firm. And that really interests me. So just try to say thank you after any type of meeting, and it's just more of a formality. But if you're ever in an interview scenario, make sure to send a thank you email. If it's networking, sometimes it's kind of subjective, but if you're interviewing, send a thank you email. Awesome. So that's it on our side. I swear to God, I had one more question here. Oh, okay. That's it on our side from beginning. Sorry. That's it on our side. In terms of next week, what we're going to be doing is case interview fundamentals. So next week, we're going to actually be starting with case interviewing. We're going to give you guys a case and we're going to try to solve it live on here. And we're going to teach you a framework to actually approach that. So try to be on here next week. If not, everything's going to be recorded, just like today's meetings is. So just try to watch them on YouTube if you can. After that, our next events that's happening on a Thursday. So when FCG is regularly meeting is going to be with Procter&A pharmaceutical consulting firm, and we're going to have Chipotle with them. That's going to be Thursday, March 6th, 5 p.m. and DH 2:30. So if you guys have any questions about that, just please let me know. And then one last thing before you guys go, just try to scan and join the group me so you guys stay updated as possible in terms of events. This is not only for CDP, but this is for any of our general information meetings, and also applications for things like our mentorship program, our CDP program when it launched. So this is just how you stay up to date within FCG. But yeah, that's it. I'm sorry for being a little bit over on time, but I appreciate you guys staying on. Let me stop sharing my screen here. Will these slides be posted on the group me? They're going to be sent out to your email. So not on the group me, but sent out to your email. So just keep on the lookout for that. I think I sent out last week's slides, but I don't think I sent the slides. I think I sent the attachments that I gave last week, but this week I'll put the slides in there, along with the attachments that I sent out in the beginning. But that's it on my side, guys. I really appreciate you guys being here. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll stay on for, another 5-10 minutes to answer any questions if you guys have any.